couple years ago, we started this business really with the goal of bringing some new tools into the preventive conservation world. So one of the things we found when we first started looking at this was that there were a lot of companies out there making data loggers, hundreds of them. And if you look through the spec sheets and you spend a lot of time looking at the technical specifications, you'll see a lot of stuff in common. And when I say there's a lot of companies, I do mean there is a lot. I mean, this is just a few. There's even more than this. If you start looking around the world, you'll see these people used all over the place. But there are really only two companies that focus on environmental monitoring for collections. And that's the Image Permanence Institute and Conserv. And I think both operate under a pretty similar thesis that most folks in the preservation space are really looking for more than a logger. So we offer a little more than just accurate readings. That's kind of table stakes. That's sort of the baseline. We built the product with some amazing range capabilities. People told us it was difficult often to get a signal in certain spaces. They don't have Wi-Fi everywhere. So we built a product with some incredible range without Wi-Fi. Battery life can be a challenge, especially if you don't know that it died. So we really focused on building a product with extremely long battery life. People told us existing solutions were too complicated. So we built something that was dead simple. You turn it on and it just works. And finally, you can collect all the data in the world, but interpreting what it means and really figuring out what the next best thing you can do for your collection is does require software that's really purpose-built for collections. So I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but this is the kind of the spec sheet for the Conserv SCS1, which is the first sensor product that we launched. Temperature, RH accuracy, comparable to higher end products from a number of companies. We've also added illuminance and UV detection to this, as well as 3-axis shock detection and reporting. So if you've got one of these in a display case, for example, and that thing gets bumped, this will let you know, and you might want to go take a look and see if anything's become dislodged. We built it to have simple setup. So when you get the box, there's always like a Conserv gateway and however many sensors you've ordered. It's really as simple as just plugging the gateway in, waiting a few minutes, and then signing into Conserv Cloud. We have a lot, I would say most of our customers never involve IT. They just plug it in, it connects over cellular, and they're off and running. So how do we do this, right? We actually use a new type of network technology, relatively new, called LoRaWAN. It's important to note this isn't Wi-Fi, it isn't Bluetooth. What it is a lower frequency network that's designed for extremely long range operation. So hundreds of meters, even in buildings and in difficult conditions. It's also designed to be very power friendly. So we can run these on battery for 3+ years. We tell our customers 3.5, but we've really built in closer to 4.5 or more of battery life here. Another thing we love about LoRaWAN is that we know we're not going to ever be able to build every type of sensor that, that people might want. So we take advantage of a pretty rich LoRaWAN ecosystem, dozens of companies building hundreds of different sensors for all sorts of different use cases. And importantly, it's an open technology. So LoRaWAN is not proprietary to us. There are some other sub-gigahertz, 900 megahertz products out there on the market, but most of them are proprietary. So once you buy one sensor from that company, you have to pretty much get everything else from them. We are more of a fan of a sort of an open approach. So here's a quick overview of how Conserv connects, right? So whether it's the Conserv sensor, which is the product that we manufacture, or leak detection or a cold room sensor, all of those are going to ping messages to this little Conserv gateway. That gateway comes out of the box with cellular data connection, and that's just part of the package. You can also plug it into your own network. So in that case, the cellular just acts as kind of a backup connection to help improve reliability. From there, it goes up to the cloud, up to our data storage service, where we make it available for analysis, reporting, and all the other things that people need to do with their data. So currently, we've set up 4 devices to work with Conserv Cloud. So the first is our own smart collection sensor, sorry. The second one is an outdoor temp and RH sensor that we sourced from a company in the UK called Laird. And then we also offer a sensor dedicated for cold storage use cases, as well as a dedicated leak detection sensor. A little bit about the connection options. So this is something that some people find confusing when they're trying to figure out what's the right way to do these environmental measurements for my collection. You'll hear Bluetooth, you'll hear Wi-Fi a lot, right? And both are, for certain use cases, perfect choices. Bluetooth, relatively short range, and it can be pretty low power consumption. You know, you can get a year or so of runtime out of a device. Not as fast as Wi-Fi in terms of sending data, but when all you're sending is sensor readings, that really doesn't matter much. Wi-Fi, you know, a little bit more range. It does tend to eat battery though. It tends to be much higher power consumption, with the upside being that it can send lots of data, which is terrific if I'm streaming Netflix on my phone, but really isn't necessary when I'm just sending readings across the network. And then the last one here is the technology we've chosen, LoRaWAN. Again, it's optimized for very long range, extremely low power consumption. And it can do that because it's really only capable of sending tiny amounts of data. But for this application, that's just fine. I wanted to show you just one example of a little bit of real world range. So this is a satellite view of one of our Conserv customers. And we went over there recently and took a walk and walked from the conservation lab where the gateway is installed up to one of the galleries where they have several of our sensors monitoring a rotating exhibition space. And if we mark it on the map, it comes out to a little over 100 meters. But what's interesting here is that the gateway is actually in the basement. So it's below ground and the sensors are on the 3rd floor galleries. So 100 meters as the crow flies, but there's also 3 floors of concrete and steel between the sensor and the gateway. And even with all that in the way, it actually works with plenty of signal strength to spare. So it's great that you can collect all the data, right? You can do this without Wi-Fi. You can do this automatically. But at the end of the day, it's what we do with the data that really matters. So Conserv has really built a platform for preservation, you know, for professionals in this space. We're focused on more than just a line graph, really. So we're looking at things like how well did you do with the goals you've set for yourself? If you want to stay within a specific range, what percentage of the time were you there? As well as higher level analytics, such as, is there a risk of mold in this space? Are we within our light budgets? And of course, the things that you come to expect from a cloud service, you know, like alerts, et cetera. It's important to note that this software is actually free to use. So if you have CSV data from any other data loggers that you have, whether they're PEM2s or something else, you can bring those files to Conserv, upload them, and take advantage of the same analysis that our paying customers get. So we do this 3 ways. The first one is the one I just mentioned, really, which is the Conserv Cloud. It's a free offering, bring your own data. That's what BYOD stands for. The second is a starter kit. This is the way a lot of companies get started with Conserv. So it's $500. It's a one-time charge that includes the gateway, 2 sensors, and 3 years of our service. And then for larger customers who really want the complete monitoring solution, that comes in at $220 per sensor per year, but that includes the sensors. It also includes calibration, you know, time with our team of experts in the field to help you understand how to set this up right and help you interpret your data. So it's a lot more than just a device. Speaking of our team, these are the folks that work with us. So again, my name is Nathan. I'm the CTO here and one of the co-founders. My other co-founder is Austin. We've also got Melissa King. I think she's on the call with us today. Melissa is a preventive conservator, and she's here to help collections be successful with this, whether they use our equipment or not. And we're hiring another similar role soon. So we'll be adding another preservation liaison to the team. We also have on our advisory board, Anna Martins, who's helping us with international, kind of building some relationships with museums outside the US, and Bhuwan Bashel, who is our senior engineer. So how do I get started? The simplest way, and we'll provide a link to this, is to hop on and go take our collection survey. So we're going to ask you a few questions. You know, what do you like about the tools you have? What do you not like? At the end of that, Melissa will get you set up with an onboarding call. So this is an opportunity to really sit down with somebody who knows your business, who knows your space, and get this set up right from the beginning. So what spaces are we going to monitor? How are we going to place devices, et cetera. And then once we're done there, the next step is really better outcomes for your collections. And that's all. Thank you all very much.